Welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Jesse, Brandon, pleased to be with you. Thank you for tuning in on this fine Thursday afternoon here in Vilcabamba. I never know, does it show?
I can't tell.
I mean, we're a little cloudy too. We're a little cloudy,
but it's blue right
lovely.
here. Blue right here. It feels good.
Yeah, it's kind of hot today, which I like. It's been a little cool.
Well, that's a nice shirt you got on there.
It's a very nice shirt, thanks to you and Monica.
Mom, this is Monica, dude. Monica made these. Yeah. What does the back of it say?
Did she stitch them?
She did. She spun the cotton.
I don't remember. It says something about heart and home and...
It says, live where your soul blooms.
Oh, let me see. Vive donde tu alma florece. Very nice.
Live where your soul blooms. So why are we wearing the same shirt?
Well, it's just we're a little bit fruity, and we're. You can't make me laugh.
You're making yourself laugh.
I did.
You're so good. You're laughing at your own jokes.
Yeah. Well, today was the anniversary of the foundation of the parroquia, which is not a county. It's smaller than a county. It's like the town area of Vilcabamba. Well, I don't think we have that in the States. I don't think we have. Do we have something smaller than a county? You know what I mean? Like you have the state, and then you have the county. So that would be here. That would be the province, and then the canton. But then they have an extra level, which is the parroquia. I don't know that we have that equivalent in the States. But anyways, it was the anniversary, 200-something year anniversary, I believe, of the foundation of this particular parroquia. So like everything in Ecuador, they do it big and funny. And so, but it was a great event. The whole town came out. There was a big parade, which we were invited to be in. And so we are wearing green matching shirts.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. So here, I just looked it up. The parroquia, it's a third-level administrative unit, equivalent to a civil parish or municipality in other countries.
There you go.
So it's like a township or the municipal gun. That would be the equivalent in the States.
Like the town level almost.
Yeah.
But it's a little weird because I don't know. I think it's hard to say. But yeah, it's because it's big-ish.
It says there's 1,500 parroquias in Ecuador, each functioning as a local government and responsible for community service and governance, similar to communities and municipalities.
Right. But they're really almost responsible. They have very little power, unfortunately.
Right.
It'd be nice if there was more done at the parochial level versus the cantonal level.
Yeah.
Because we have to get our decision making. Our decision making is in Loja versus in Vilcabamba, which would be nice.
The mayor of Loja was here today, man.
Was he?
Gave me the salute.
You guys are buddies now.
Yeah. What's up, dude? Yeah.
He's definitely got the politician's smile going. He's
like the Ecuadorian Schwarzenegger,
Totally.
Yeah. He's got that whole thing. But I thought the parade was cool, man. There was all the different schools were out, and the bands. They had the military with they went all out with the commando face paint and machine gun tank. They put whatever. It was cool that I wasn't expecting them to pull out those kind of stops for a little parochial parade through Vilcabamba. But our girls danced. Awesome. The New Conchi dance group was in it, and we got to walk around big shout. But we didn't just show up. We were invited. We were formally invited by the mayor. Yeah. Requesting our presence. So hey, man, who are we to say no?
That's right. That's right.
So I thought it was fun. Next year, you said we're going to do the Macarena as the performance at the end?
Definitely me that said that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, well, we'll hold you to it.
Okay. I'm sure you will. Yep, so we had that going on today. That was fun. But no, I mean, it is cool. It's like one of the many things here, right? It's just good vibes, very communal, everyone's happy. It's just that kind of stuff. And,
right. I mean, how many real estate companies get cheered in a parade,
Right.
How many are even in parades? I don't even know. But we were, and we got a cheer at the end. All right.
I mean, the parades back home are what? It was like the Macy's Day Parade. Or
Right. With big floats and giant balloons.
Although I guess they do have 4th of July parades back home, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like fire department.
Yeah, that's true. The fire department. Yeah, I wonder why the fire department, they should have brought a fire truck or something.
I mean, there's a new...
Fire.
Were they not in the parade, the fire department? That's almost surprising.
I didn't...
I guess the police weren't either. They were.
I think there was like some officer level of the police, or maybe that was military up in the beginning with Victor and
Diez de Brillo, the mayor.
yeah, como se dice?
I think. Well, Franco Quezada.
Quezada.
Yeah.
Quezada. I always pronounce it wrong.
Yeah.
Quezada.
I think so.
I remember one of my first crushes in like 7th grade was a Mexican girl named Marisa Quezada.
Ah.
Quezada.
That's why you're friends with the mayor.
It's his great granddaughter.
It's not that old, bro.
Granddaughter, maybe.
You're dating yourself there.
Marisa Quezada.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah, not well.
First in a long line, huh?
Not well. I think I went on a date with like her cousin, Melinda.
Oops. Shouldn't have done that.
Well, no, like I wasn't trying to. I was like trying to talk to Melinda. So I liked Marissa, and somehow I ended up, whatever.
Yeah. These things happen in junior high.
Anyway, yeah, it was one of those.
I had a friend of mine thinks that mountain, Mandango, is an example of those petrified cities.
Interesting.
Could be. Never know.
Yeah.
There are some photos I've seen that do really look like. I don't see it as much with Mandango, but I didn't like look at it closely. But there are some interesting photos that really do look like, whether it's giants or whether it's cities or whether it's.
I mean, I sit here because I sit out here all the time at night, and I always, like, I've now seen different faces in Mandango.
Right.
That from one way it could really, like, I wouldn't see. We talked about being detached from reality. Well, I've had so many visions, like, wow, that like this is their arms are like this, the head's like, and they're just gonna open their arms, and the head's coming up, and they're just sitting up, like it's like that big, and then I have another one where that's the head facing that way, and that's the chest. I don't know what this bump over here is, but like the head's just gonna be like.
They show that stuff. They show that in that kids movie Moana.
They do. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the myths I found out about this mountain, about Mandango. Talking to some of the dancers, that there's a myth that Mandango years ago got in a fight with Guaranga.
Guaranga,
how do you say it?
Guaranga.
And they were like throwing boulders at each other, and then they finally like settled it, and that's why they put the cross up there. Yeah. That's the myth anyway. That was like the peace treaty. Like, all right, we're even.
I mean, this stuff's not that far fetched. Like, there isn't. Well, listen, there isn't a historical text that doesn't refer to stuff we now consider to be impossible, like giants and angels and gods and different creatures of different whatever. And I mean, almost every culture's creation story has like things coming out of the sky and descending and mating with earth women and
and there's evidence of things that from, again, I don't know how well our carbon dating or dating techniques, how valid any of that is, but things that are way older that aren't common, that we can't replicate, the same way.
Right. Dude, no, some of these palaces and buildings, I mean, there's no chance that was chisel and hammer.
Right. So you see stuff like that, and you're like, all right, there's something there that's not, that we're missing. There's gaps
something
here.
You were talking about before we started that made me want to, like, go with the chisel and hammer thing. It's like any moment in time, like in the cycles of time, like any moment in time, the people alive think it's the most advanced time.
Yeah.
But which means, according to every other time, every other person was wrong during every other time.
And that's the same concept that I've tried to share previously with regard to this time is different, because they've been thinking about the end of the world, the apocalypse for every generation, every generation thinks we're like on the precipice. Every generation thinks that. Every everybody. You know, it's the same concept. So eventually, somebody's going to be right out, you know, right?
Or not.
Or not,
You know, whatever
right.
that means.
Or the spiral continues, you know.
Which at one level, right.
It will,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like those things, like the same with the you know, the polarity. Maybe in some ways the polarity has always been this polar.
I don't think so.
Well, it may be more condensed now, so it's in your, you know, like it's there, but maybe that's always existed. It just wasn't condensed with humans and consciousness. They weren't connected that way, right? There was no web, there was no connection there. There was just so.
Yeah,
like,
but that's a chicken or the egg thing.
Wait, is it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because exactly to your point that comes later about the more time you have because your needs are met, the more further you can go on stuff. It's the same thing with this. It's like the more you can get more polarized when you have access to more information, more this, more that, more that. So it's like, you know, it's a chicken or the egg.
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean more so, maybe not from that exact same perspective, just more so that, hey, in this part of the world, I believe wholeheartedly with every ounce of my being that this sun god rules the world. And then, you know, 60 kilometers that way, I believe with my whole every ounce of my being that this rain god rules the world. And I don't, you know, like, and I don't believe that. And I don't, you know, like, if you tell me that, I'd be like, no, we're, you know, like, I just mean more like that polarity, like it's there. Like, it's just so pocketed and so maybe not naive, but, you know, separate. I don't know, just not connected. And so not that, like, the polarity of, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I disagree.
You think that?
I think there's cycles of time. And so I think you can be, and it's partly that is evidenced or evidence/controlled by the planetary energies, whatever those are. But there's
So you believe there's planets?
Not necessarily. The planetary energies,
Okay.
I chose my words carefully.
Okay.
But there's cycles of time. So depending on where you're at in that cycle, you can have energies that are going to get you further from God, closer to God, more unified, less unified. There's going to be more war. There's going to be less war. There's going to be more polarity, less polarity. Things are going to go a lot slower or things are going to go a lot faster. It depends where you're at in that cycle. So like the point for me where we're at in that cycle right now, and I always use the analogy of this thing that I did once at like some natural science museum as a kid that maybe no one knows what I'm talking about, but there's like these things that are like they're circular and they're very wide and they're sloped down, and you take like a marble type thing and you go like that.
Yeah.
That to me is how the cycles of time work. So it starts out like and then it starts going down and down and getting faster and faster until it drops down. The whole being like 0 point, you know, the whole being like full unification back to God, like what's the word that is also they've hijacked, but the you know what I'm talking about, like Elon Musk talks about it, AI guys talk about it, singularity.
Singularity.
You know, that's like the representation of singularity, or we're all one, total unification, where the separation, the universes, you know, collapse and condense into, you know, that on one level it's that. So yeah, so right now we're at this part at the bottom, and that's why we're seeing technology change so fast, consciousness change so fast. That's why we're seeing this literally sped up time versus, you know, we're not in this point on that cycle where like, okay, we've discovered crops, we're planting crops. 300 years later, we figure out, hey, if we tie a thing to this animal, it can make it easier. 200 years after that, we discover, you know, hey, if we you know, do this.
Maybe.
Yeah, and maybe that history is nonsense, but the point.
But it's all relative, though. It's relative to now, to the now then. It's all relative. Just to your point, like, oh, every generation thinks this. Everybody thinks that we're at the spot where Wow, and that's where
you
the
think
colloquial.
so though? Like
I do.
I don't see the evidence of people believing that 100 years ago, believing that,
Well,
200 years ago. Like, I don't see the evidence.
That's where time flies. Things speed up. Like as you get older, the days go. Like go back. Everybody says that for every generation.
Well,
right?
the time has been speeding up for a long time, but that's not what I mean. I mean, like, the idea that we're in this almost end of time part of the cycle.
I think it's relative to the amount. I think it's relative to that time. Like everybody, there's going to be a group of people that think that in every now.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
I do. I don't agree, but I do understand what you're saying.
So you don't think there's going to be a group of people that think that in every now?
No, I think if you don't define that any further, then yes, I agree. But if we're talking about movements and numbers and percentages and stuff like that, then I don't agree.
Numbers, like that's your proof. You mean? Is that what you're saying?
What do you mean?
Like there's number, like you're
like
quantifying numbers.
The fact that like there's probably always been somebody running around preaching the end of the world. I agree.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about like, have we had mass humanity? Like right now, my perception, my belief, my understanding, right, is we have humanity as a whole is lifting their heads up out of the sand, metaphorically, and starting to like realize who they are and break free of lots of stuff that has been sort of an enslaving thing going on Earth for a long time. And that's happening in mass in a way that is unique to this time, right? This was not true in 1934. It was not true in 1880, et cetera.
You think that?
I think that, yeah.
In like metro cities? Like
I think on
like
Earth. It happens in
where
waves.
In Vilcabamba, in local Ecuadorians, do you see that?
Okay, sure. So the lady who works at Jardín Escondido, right, is a perfect example. So she's a regular, like we all were at one time. We're in school, we're working, we're on the treadmill, and something happens, and this is like what's been happening since kind of 2012, I think, basically. But like something happened, and she like realizes this is not what I want for my life, and so some synchronicities start coming in, and she starts thinking about, man, what I really want is like I want a little piece of land in the country where I can like live there and grow some food and do that, right?
Well, that's not unique to here, though.
And
that's like normal. That's like most people here, though. That's what.
Well,
that's
it was unique to her. No, I disagree. I think the trends here have been the opposite of that. It's like that's how life has been here forever.
Right.
Over the last 20 or 30, 20 years, 20-ish years, people have been like, no, this is BS. I want to go to the city.
Go to college. Yeah. No, you're seeing some of that, but still, that's not most people. Like most people in the rural areas.
You said give an example. So this is an Ecuadorian who was on that track very clearly.
Yeah.
Had this moment of like, head up, no, my soul says this isn't what I want.
Yeah.
And then is in a bookstore. And the synchronicities start happening. She's in a bookstore and exactly what she wanted to, and she grabs it and she's like, oh my God, and that sends her, and then she ends up in Vilcabamba, and now she owns a little piece of land in San Pedro.
Yeah.
She was in Quito at the time. Now she owns a little piece of land in San Pedro.
Yeah, that's technology though.
And
that's because of technology.
What is?
That those concepts are even accessible. Like that these thought processes, these concepts, that goes back to the comfortable materiality or material comfortability.
Well, sure. I mean, in the cycles of time, you're always going to have the playing field that is conducive to what needs to happen at that time. However, it all plays out.
Maybe it doesn't need to happen. Maybe we're choosing what happens.
Well, there's choice within it, but still, the cycle is written, so to speak.
I don't know, dude.
Well, we can agree to disagree. It's okay.
Yeah.
Or we could debate it
more.
No,
the cycle's written by who?
God.
What did he say?
Well,
what did it say?
If we're gonna get into this.
What did God say?
No, I mean, well, from my perspective, there's some kind of simulation here that we're kind of in / interacting with / being reflected, ourselves being reflected back to us. And that simulation was created. And so there is like controlling factors in that. And so they're very similar to, like, it's not any different than a video game. So like if you're in a video game, you still have choice. Like you can hit button A and jump, or hit button B and shoot, or you can like, you can jump in the hole or not. There's like all roads lead to Rome, but you have choice within how you get there. It's just like that. So when you get to the final boss battle, that's a program that you're gonna face no matter what. But so then how you go about it, that's up to you. But but that's the part that's already written, is like the collective story almost. Not the specifics in terms of like it could, people could choose to create this way or create that way or go here or go there. You have the buttons still.
So you're just saying that everybody dies? I mean, your body dies?
No, that there's,
that's
no,
the
that there's
story
cycles and there's lessons along the way. So like we're in a time now where humanity is realizing on an individual and collective level, which of course is the same thing at the end of the day, who they are. Like people are realizing. It's just like you told me the other day. You have a friend who's been like hardcore bought into all the stuff for his whole life, and over the last couple of years or whatever it's been, or since, I think you said since COVID, has had some realizations, and that's an example of his process of picking his head up out and starting to realize who he is. And that's the point. Like that's another very like granular example. That's happening collectively at whatever level it is. Now again, there's duality in that. So like some people are not choosing that. Like some people are choosing very hard the other option. Yeah. Which is like, I'm going to stick my head so far down my feet disappear, right? Like there's also that. So they're not going to catch those waves, and their reality will be whatever it is. But that doesn't change the fact that that's the time we're in and that's the process that's happening.
Right. I don't know, man. I just think like that's technology. Those concepts are available. Like everybody from every generation gets disgruntled with government when they get older and they realize, I worked my ass off, and they're, like you've got that disgruntled, with the past and with the government and with this and with that. Like everybody gets that. Most people get that way. So, the difference now is that people have access to information that they didn't have like fingertip access to. Like a lot of these, ancient texts and historical texts, you had to go to a library if you could even find them, or you had to go on microfiche. Remember microfiche?
No.
Well, I think you don't remember that? You had to go to the library and you could get you can go, dude.
Just grab them. Yeah.
They would copy like newspapers.
Oh,
and
like
books.
the microfilm.
Microfiche, same. Yeah,
okay,
they're different things, but yeah, and they would.
I know.
And you would have to go, but most people don't do that stuff, right? But now all that information and more is now, in your pocket all the time,
Right.
And,
but you think that's by accident, though?
Well, I'm not saying it's by accident, but I just think that's, of course, people with access to that are gonna be disgruntled sooner.
Yeah, but the reason that's agreed. I agree with everything you just said. The reason that's happening is because people are ready for that.
Oh, no, I don't know.
So there always has to be like a physical 3D way in which the thing that needs to happen happens. So you're pointing out, well, this is the way, this is the manifestation in form of this thing that is happening. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I don't
but like
know.
that's because people in their level of consciousness are ready for that.
But most people aren't.
Therefore it's there.
Most people aren't. And at some level, everybody already has been. And it's been manifested that way for every generation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exterior 3D world is always going to be at / a reflection of where consciousness is at.
Comma, semicolon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Taking this quick break to remind you,
we run Vilcabamba lifestyle retreats. If you're interested in checking out this area, hanging out with us, getting all the information you could possibly want, and having a great time, check out the links below. Thanks so much. Back to the program.
I'm like, what? You made me laugh again. Anyhow. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Ugh, I'm still alive.
No, it's interesting.
Because then it's like, then you get into, if you take out what you're, like, the argument you're making, I think, at a, like, fundamental level, is that shit is random and it's not God. Which is like, I really disagree with.
No,
like,
that's not what I'm saying. I don't think I think that God gives us free will.
Yeah,
like, I believe
sure.
that, right?
Uh-huh.
So, and that kind of goes back to with, light comes from life, and, even just those concepts of back when I was interested in Jordan Peterson and when I went back to college and studying, I was looking for proof. Like, I wanted proof.
Yeah.
I needed proof of this and proof of that and proof. And now it's like, you get to a point where you're like, you can't prove anything.
Right.
You can't prove anything. Prove to me that your taste buds are accurately describing the flavor of that coconut
that goes back to
in your mouth
is there
at this
objective
point.
Reality, or is it all subjective, or at what degree and on what level?
And then you can find, prove that God exists. Okay, well, where does light come from? Where does life come from? Where, you don't, I don't know, man. You look at the sunrise. There's just these.
I agree. I agree.
Like,
but
prove that God exists. You've got the free will to discern all of that if you want it. And that's where, like, the cell phone and all this information, it's like overload for people. Are you ready for it, or are you just being overloaded where you might as well still be in the matrix? People that are getting woken up now in that, where they have every belief known to man and things that are just now intentionally made up to believe that actually are convincing, but the intention is to deceive. That's all available, and you're consuming all, you're waking up and to consume all that for the first time. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not sure you're in a better spot.
Wait, but I don't think it's a mental thing. It's like, I think you're taking it back. It's like, same with the proving stuff, right? It's like, I think we as humans, as a species, have lived in the mind predominantly in the mind, much more than was ever intended by our anatomy. And so yes, we want to, like, keep everything in the mind world and be like, well, and then we want to take this very malleable reality, which, quantum physics and all this stuff has proved over and over and over again, how none of this, you can't actually quantify any of this, because it's you observing it that's creating the thing that you're, experiencing. So, such an asshole. But I caught it very quickly. So the mind stuff. So we want to, like, yeah, exactly. You want to look for proof, but proof what? In the mind. And it's like, I think that's actually the shift that's taking place. And it's not the mind for people that's waking up. It's their soul. Like, people's soul is waking up and then directing, hey, like, rest of you, we got to get our shit together here.
Right.
And that does send the mind into work usually, right?
Yeah.
So then the mind's like, well, I got to look at what's going on, and I got to figure stuff out, and I want to understand. And that tends to be part of the process because it's all connected. But it's like, just because people are holding this thing in their hands doesn't mean they have access to anything. They only have access to the information to the level that their consciousness is at. Like, I could use some very tangible examples, but I won't, just because they're in my personal circle and I don't want to do that. But, like, all of us can think in our own life of people we know who have every single answer to anything they could ever want to know at their fingertips, and is living in incredible amounts of delusion and ignorance.
Yeah.
Now, whether I am equipped to be the judge of that, of course I'm not. I'm just talking from my perspective. But, right? So it's like, it's not until your consciousness opens up to those things that the information can come in. Otherwise, the information, the fact that it's there, means literally zero. It's only there for the person whose consciousness is ready to look at it. Otherwise, they don't even look at it. They don't even know it's there.
Yeah. I don't know. There's like this slippery slope for me where it's available, it's there for everyone, and if you're not, like, it's really, it can be like very dangerous in the sense that you could easily get into a cycle or a spiral of it's true because I intuit. Therefore it's true.
But what's the other option?
Right.
It's true because my mind knows it?
No, there are things.
What's the objective?
Sure,
it's true? Like, what's the barometer?
Don't go punching people.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad, right? Is that the barometer? Is that? Do you agree? Like, I shouldn't have done that.
Well, I don't understand the point.
Well, I just proved it.
Proved what?
That's not okay. I just punched you, right? Like, I just punched you, and I shouldn't have punched you, right?
I don't understand the point.
Wait, so I should have punched you? It's okay to do that?
Well, you're going back to the objective truth argument.
Well, no, just like proving. Like, you can prove. Yes, you said you can't prove anything. Yes, you can prove lots of things. Like, everyone can agree that's watching, Brandon's an asshole. You shouldn't have punched Jesse, right? Right?
Well, where you go? I don't understand.
No, I mean, well, is that true?
Well, in this case, no, it was fine because it didn't hurt and you were demonstrating something.
Yes,
but I'm still.
In this case, it didn't hurt. You're kind of a sissy. No, I think you can prove things. Yeah. You can prove.
But what I'm asking, like, you're saying that intuition is not a good method.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
I think intuition is a great method. I think it's dangerous, or it can be dangerous or easily I think somebody I think many people that are like awakening into this time with this amount of information available that is saying that doesn't have a tuned intuition, that is not in tune with their intuition, can be easily misled.
Of course.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, that's kind of the whole point of all of this, is that now you have all this information. Now you're having everybody in many different gurus everywhere telling you, if you feel it, it's good. If you feel it, it's true. Follow believe in your intuition. If you're into it, it's, and so then you can very naively fall into like, hey, like, you can
very naively, through any modality, fall into negative stuff in anything. I mean, you can do it through the mind, you can do it through intuition, you can do it through the internet, you can do it through any, friend groups.
They're all related.
Books, right? I mean, and I think that's kind of the point of being human. It's like, that's part of the training program we were talking about later. We were talking about, learning how to decipher. We were using a different word that I'm forgetting, but learning how to understand what's what. What's the word for that?
Perception.
No, the other one. Anyways, whatever it is. But,
decipher what's what.
Yeah, like.
Not discern.
Discernment. Thank you.
I
think I said discern.
You said discern. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting there. Yeah, discernment.
I threw you off.
It
hurt more than you thought. Huh?
It's like, it's discernment that you're talking about, right? Learning. So that's learning what works for you. How do you learn things? When are you on the false path? When are you not? Like, those are processes, and everyone has to figure out that for themselves. And so, like, part of that process is getting lost in stuff. Part of that process is like having a belief that you really think is right and realizing later, oh wait, I was wrong. Like, that wasn't right,
Yeah. I think maybe more so for me, at least where I'm at, is that you don't ever get to the point where I was wrong or I was right. It's just more like, I don't know. That could be like
Sure.
my
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
my intuition is guiding me. There are these moral absolutes or moral truths that I believe are of God that are kind of pillars in guiding intuition, if you want them, that are there in life, or at least for me. But I'm not I don't ever have those moments where it's like, oh, I'm dead wrong or I'm 100% right. Like those extremes don't exist for me. Like it's just more like, man, it could be like I don't even, do you know what I mean?
100%. I mean, there's all those great quotes by like people who I consider, on the scale of Earth pretty master level in some of their understandings that like, quotes like, the more I learn, the more I know, the more I realize like I don't know. Yeah.
Right,
like,
right. Well, and that's the part for people when they're like just, I mean, I'm trying to like characterize this for folks, that have been, like you've been here for how many? You came here in 2012?
13.
2013? So you are already on, you did some mind work, some intuition work well before then to be able to leave New York City to come to a place like this, right? That most people don't do, that most people don't do, right? It's just, those are just facts. Like most people don't do that. Mm-hmm. And for me, like September 11th, and I didn't do the same moves as you did in regard to like
you kind of did
geographic
because
relocation.
you ended up like out in a more rural area.
Yeah, I was more iterative.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but it right, is it indicative of that? But then I've also now had that perspective, right? I've had that life experience of the last 24 years, 25 years of like iteratively living differently, thinking differently, intuiting differently. And I didn't have this frickin' smorgasbord of information at my fingertips, right? To overwhelm and confuse or deceive and, so I might argue that it was easier for us in a way, than starting that process now. Like right now, and that's kind of what my whole point of all this, like people that are like just starting that beginning, like if we were starting back at the beginning for us, now versus 2008 or 2000, whenever it was for you, 2000 for me, if I was starting that now and if I was Brandon from 2000 and you just drop me down here and I'm starting that process with, or 2020 even started with COVID instead of September 11th, it was like I'm in COVID, like it's just, it's different, right? It's different. I think it's a time where it's much easier to just spiral, right?
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Yeah, I think that's evidence again of the time we're in.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's kind of what all the things the concepts. I'm just trying to think about like people that are just starting, just kind of like waking up in COVID time or. Yeah. Like the first time where they're consciously thinking about life different, thinking about the Matrix, thinking about,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's tough no matter what, I think any time that's tough. But I think that I very firmly believe that there's a design to everything. Yeah. So I just don't think that any of that is random. And so whatever life path people have chosen for themselves is part of the design and part of the plan and part of, what they've chosen. So I don't know. I just don't spend any time thinking about like defining it in terms of like whether it's easier or harder or there's more, there's more of this available or less of that available, all those things. It's just is what it is. Like it's just whatever people have chosen is what they've chosen, and whatever time they're in and whatever level of awakening all of us are in.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the case.
Yeah, it's always the case.
Right, I think some of the things we talk about though are for people that are just starting. It's like
I sound like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well.
Oh, fully. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Okay.
If that's what if that was the whole.
Well, kind of. Yeah. Well.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Okay.
Oh, it's great.
So.
Of course.
Right. So it's just, and it's not easy.
And I may be talking to the wrong audience, by the way, on some of this.
Well, no, I think it's awesome, man. No, I love talking about it.
Which I'm very okay with, but I'm okay with all of it. But yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
so that's where I think, like, some of it, I think it's great. We can go there, but I think if we can kind of bring it back sometimes.
Yeah.
And help, explain, like, or iteratively some of
That was my
these
favorite
things.
moment of the podcast ever. No, you're absolutely right. So in terms of some of those yes, I can't even, yes.
Cool.
So do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. It's not
I'm not making it easy.
It's not working well. Yeah. No, because a lot of it is like, well, shit. Now, like, but at the end of the day, man, it's
So
like,
funny.
it's like, I don't know. I feel like a broken record sometimes, but like, who are you? Who do you want to be? What do you value? How do you want to spend your time? Like, make those choices. If you define that for you, then nobody can tell you you're wrong. And if they do, if you say, hey, this is who I want to be, this is what I value, this is, this is how I want to spend my time, and you've thought through it and felt through it and lived through it and, adapted through it and said, this is kind of, I'm setting my course, I'm setting my sail. And then, like, who knows where the wind blows and, when the sail rips and when you gotta, whatever, when you gotta go to land. But your sail is at least set with intent, with purpose, with inspiration.
Yeah.
Then then the haters, who cares? Then the naysayers, who cares? Then the detractors, then the negative, the fear, even the well-meaning, that's the part where, that's probably the hardest part, to do that first piece, that first step, to be able to get on the boat,
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So let's bring it back to more fundamental. I mean, bro, we don't have to talk about any of this stuff.
No, it's great.
We were like, in the beginning, we're like having this conversation. You want it. I'm like, all right, we'll talk about this stuff.
Because it's
Anyways,
great. I enjoy it.
No, I do too. But so there's 2 or 3, in my opinion, there's 2 or 3 types, groups, whatever, of people that this place can work for, or does work for, or can work for. One of those groups is people who have been on this road for a long time, are deep into their process of self-knowledge, of awakening, of understanding who they are, of deconditioning, undoing the conditioning, undoing the programming, blah, 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 blah. And they feel like a calling to here for some life mission, some aspect of their path, blah, 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 blah. That's like one set.
Yeah.
Another set is more kind of what you're getting at. So it's like people who just at a sort of fundamental baseline level are like, this isn't what I want for myself in my life. I want to slow down. I want to get closer to nature. I want more community. I want, a different sort of lifestyle and climate. I want to feel more connected, to the people around me.
Yeah.
And they're just, it's like they've had enough type of thing of whatever their environment is, whether that's a corporate job, whether that's just a regular job, whatever whatever, right?
Whatever their grind is.
Whatever the grind is. It's like back home, in the States and other places like that, there's just a ton of stress and there's just a lot of that going on, right? People are stressed, they're overworked, they're tired, their nervous systems are shot. There's environmental toxins that everybody's dealing with that causes additional stress on the being, on the individual. And so people are just looking for something else, right? They're looking for something else. So this place really serves that group as well, right? So I think that's kind of like the people that can be successful here, and it's worth considering. Like, is this a place that I'd like to check out, or I'd like to live, or whatever? Because, like we've talked about countless times, just it's very different here, and the stuff that this place offers, whether we're talking about in the land, or we're talking about in the community, or we're talking about the Ecuadorian culture that already exists, the people, etc., the mindset, the lifestyle, it's very conducive to folks that either are on sort of a deeply spiritual path, or deeply like a deep self-awakening path, or are just sort of nervous system shot, need to slow down, want to live a simpler life, want to get to know people at a more human, more like real level. Maybe are interested in wanting to like be a little more self-sufficient, or whatever those words are, sustainable, and all that. Those are like the types of people that it works for. And I've dove back into dealing with about helping people that contact us recently, which has been fun actually. And so, I'm talking to people now, which I haven't done in years, in terms of like, people who are thinking about moving here. I'm back, having conversations and connecting with people. And, I'm having like those conversations just recently, and yeah, like a lot of people's goals, I think they're very healthy goals. And it's like, this place is conducive to this type of set of goals that I'm going to say, right? It's like, talking to this family the other day, the guy's been in construction his whole life. I don't remember what she does, but she works, of course, as well. They have a large family, and they're just kind of, all the stressors of life there is just a lot, and so they want to come and build a family compound and grow food and live more close to each other, and they're really, one of the things that's really calling them is like the communal nature of the people here. So it's like, they've watched some of our videos, and something must have resonated with them just from kind of like the way maybe we describe this place or whatever. But they've somehow connected energetically to like this thing that's very normal here and just ubiquitous here, which is human beings taking care of other human beings in a very human way. And
beautiful.
we were kind of having that, like they were asking, I remember one point in the conversation, like they were asking, what about Spanish? Like, can I like do life there? I'm going to try and learn, but like I don't speak Spanish now. By the way, they wouldn't, if they moved here, they wouldn't be in Vilcabamba. They'd be like somewhere further out where there isn't that sort of opportunity to speak English if you want to frequently. And so, what I said to them is, I'm like, well, look, of course you want to try and learn Spanish. Of course the language is going to help you. They speak Spanish here. Eventually you're going to want to communicate with people as much as you can. I'm like, but that's not really the lever. That's not really the thing that determines whether you're going to integrate successfully or not. It's really just your attitude. Like, it's really just like, can you have fun with it? Like, can you enjoy the awkward situations? Can you like have fun, getting to know people and going through all that stuff, and therefore ingratiate yourself to people as you're, because people here, they're very accepting. They're very like, treat you as you are. They're nice. They're friendly. They're communal. They help. They blah, 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 the list of superlatives goes on and on. But only to the degree that you don't have stuff that in your way that doesn't allow you to interact. Right? So like, if you can, it doesn't really matter if you speak Spanish. It just matters like, are you going to get stressed and pissed and upset when things aren't going how you expect? Or are you going to have fun with it and connect on a human level and sort of play in that? So anyway.
No, that's true. And that's, that goes back to stuff that we say all the time as well. Like this place is not for most people, I think. And this is my perspective on why I say that, is because you know, on both an intuition and a mind level. So now we're blending that now because their intuition is telling them, I want, you know, you're seeking this. You're seeking community. You're seeking, you know, connection to nature. You're seeking community. You're seeking cleaner air, cleaner water, you know, your body is innately like, yes, that's good. I want that intuition, right? And then your mind, you know, is telling you, all right, I think maybe now's the time I should do something about it. Like, I'm starting to think differently. I'm starting to think. The reason I say, you know, so just to get to that point, I think to maybe capture some of what you're saying with consciousness kind of shifting, there's more people, like in the mind, I think are shifting for sure, you know, more towards at least acknowledging, wow, the stuff that I know is true, or that I feel is true, or I believe is true, or that I'm seeking innately, I'm starting to consciously think about, like, that, wow, I don't have that, or I'm missing that, or I need that, or I need to remember that, right? So I think there's more of those people, but I don't think it's a ton. And then, you know, if you can get your mind to say, all right, I'm brave enough, I'm courageous enough through all the bullshit and the negativity and the propaganda and the, you know, the well-meaning, be careful, be safe, and you go visit a place like Ecuador or anywhere in South, or anywhere other than where you're from, regardless of where it is in the world, if you get yourself to make that jump in the mind, following your intuition, then the next challenge is being here. And then, like we're talking about Vilcabamba, that's where we live. That's what we've seen people that tell themselves, this is what I want. They know intuitively this is what they're looking for, and they're convincing themselves, this is what I want and I'm ready for it. And then they come and they can't. Like, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
They
make
can't
the jump.
They can't make the jump. They can't process. They can't slow down. They can't. Like, they just. You know, it's almost like
it's a short circuiting almost.
It's like a short circuit, and then it's like, this is just easier to go back into this. Like, I'd rather just go, at least I'm just running in a circle, and I can just stay running in a circle, and I know, you know, like all of a sudden that becomes less stressful for them, right? But they needed this to recognize that, right? Not that, whether that's good or bad, that's just where it is right now for them. But I think, you know, you see, in the same thing with the sustainability and the homesteading and the, you know, I think in the head, you know, intuitively, yes, like, yeah, know where your food comes from. That's great, right?
Yeah.
That's like grow it yourself, nurture it, you know, reap what you sow. Like, take those concepts. You can live that, right? You can do that here. You could absolutely live and do that and be happy doing that. And I think people kind of romanticize that sometimes.
Yeah.
And then they come, and then they realize, you know, they may have, maybe they had a garden, you know, they're from the Midwest or can't, you know, and they garden a couple months out of the year, and then you come and you're like, wow, this is, for me to actually do this, to sustain life, which is possible and conducive here, and everything's available to do it, with the water, with the soil, with the year-round growing seasons, multiple harvest opportunities a year that you don't get. What it takes to do that, it's not as romantic, you know, as you think.
No, you better be ready.
Right. Yeah. So like the idea of it, you convince you, and then you come here and you're like, oh, this is not kind of what I thought. This is harder than I thought, or this is more complicated than I thought, or you know what I mean?
Well, 100%. And the like, for me, the determining factor on that, and you know, you learn as you go, of course, with everything, but the determining factor on that is like, did you want the image of that?
Right.
Because it's your ego, or do you actually want to have that lifestyle?
Yep.
Because those are two very different things.
100%.
It's like, you might in your mind, in like your ego, you'd be like, oh, I'd love to have this sprawling thing where my food's growing outside and my horses are running around and my kids are in, you know, whatever, like your fantasy is. But like, is that an image that you want to be able to say about yourself? That I have that? Or do you actually want to like go dig in the dirt for multiple hours a day
Right.
and like run a crew who are doing whatever they're doing and like, you know, deal with your kids 24 hours a day because you're homeschooling and you're on a
Right.
ranch and, you know,
Yep.
like, those, you know, those are hugely different things. And a lot of people run into that. I mean, another thing I've watched, you know, quite a few people do over the years is like, you know, come down with a fantasy about this really large piece of land and just not understand at all like what it takes to manage a piece of land of that size. You know, people, I want 30 hectares, you know, which is like 100 acres or what, or no, I'm sorry, it's like 70 acres or something, 75 acres, something like that. You know, I want 100, I want what, you know, this big piece of land. I want to do agriculture. I want to do this or that. Like, that means you have like a cruise of full-time workers who are doing whatever, you know, even if it's just maintaining it, unless you just have cows and then you can maybe just have like one or two guys, but if you're talking about like any other type of agriculture, you're talking about like quite a few full-time workers.
Right.
I don't know if people like understand what.
No, I think those concepts are so skewed because now with commercial farming, particularly in the States, when you go buy big commercial farms, you don't see people working.
Yeah, it's like machines.
You just see you see one guy in a machine, or you don't even see a guy in a machine, and it's a drone. It's it's robot operated. It's like the people's concepts of what it takes to maintain, you know, any type of land to consistently grow produce and deal with understanding and balancing nature and yeah, we have year-round growing season, but there are seasonal changes, and those subtle changes cause bloom and drought and bugs, and you better understand what's in your soil and all those changes and how to symbiotically, you know, work with permaculture and water, you know, swell, you know, just understanding that. And you better be in it because
and in a place that the culture's different, the language is different.
Yep.
People's perspectives and views and how they go about life is different. So again, if you're into that, awesome. Have the right attitude.
Yep.
And if really, in truth, you can't make those adjustments in those shifts, you're gonna end up going home.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of where I think a lot of people fall into one of those two buckets. Mm-hmm. They felt something intuitively. They've, for maybe the first time, consciously thought about, wow, something's not right, or something, I need something different, or, you know, like, just thought like, what is the purpose of, like, what am I here for? You know, whatever, any of that kind of stuff. You know, I think there's a big chunk of people that are in that aren't ready, and I think the system's designed that way, not the system intelligently designed by God, which I agree with, but just the microcosm of this, you know, control system where it's designed to keep you confused, to keep you tired, to keep you overstimulated, to keep you dopamine dependent, to keep you drug dependent, to keep you, you know, going through the motions just, and ironically, man, maybe that's really the case. Maybe the system right now has, you know, I talked about earlier, which will be later, about like material comfortability and how, you know, that is an aspect for a lot of people, but maybe those people that are there, like on the wheel, so overstimulated, so stressed, so maybe that is still survival. You know, you know what I mean?
Of course it is.
But do you know? But
I know exactly. Yes. It means you don't have access to
like
the
that's
time
just
to be able
purely survival only.
Dude, that's what the whole point of the treadmill, you know, the hamster wheel is.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point. Yeah,
that is like you don't realize how close you are to, you know, like you don't consciously realize how close you are to, you know, to not surviving.
Most of us run on the hamster wheel till the day we die, and that's also one of the things for me that's so different about there and here. The economic pressures that are placed on people in the U.S. through insurances, tax code. So, for example, you buy a house, you own it, okay, but you have $1,000 a month in property taxes that you have to pay, or more or less. But like, you know, you have, it's not like owning a house makes it so, oh, I can just slow down and relax. You better go out and make money, or the house won't be yours anymore.
When you retire, when you stop producing income, you still have to, and you pay your house off, you still have to pay your property taxes.
And you've got homeowners insurance to deal with, and you got car insurance to deal with, and you've got, right, so there's these layered, exponential, built-in costs that not only directly affect you in the way I'm talking, but they also just affect the cost of living of everything. So, you go to see a doctor, well, he's got all those built-in costs also. Right. You go to see a mechanic, he's got all those built-in costs also in his business. Right. So there's no walk of life that isn't inflated like hundreds of % to what it should cost if the bureaucracy and the rules and the insurances and the lawyers and everything else got out.
The lawyer, that's a big piece. That's the amplifier. Like the amplifier, to amplify all those things you said, is that we've developed into like a very litigious society.
Yeah.
Right? So when everything is a lawsuit and all these excess unnecessary costs are forced into the system.
Right. So
that's the parasite. That's the parasite, man.
Well, I mean, one of many, but like that's also a very large difference versus here. And the way things are here, are they perfect? Hell no.
No.
Is this country some like panacea of solutions? No. Is this like paradise, some kind of like fantasy utopia? Not at all. But talking specifically about what we're talking about now, Ecuador does not have those things.
Right.
Car insurance, optional. Almost no one has it. Homeowners insurance, optional. Almost no one has it. Medical insurance, optional. Almost no one has it. Bureaucracy exists here in spades, but not in the same way. There is not compliance costs that businesses have that even are remotely similar to the U.S. There is essentially no tort system here. So you're not suing your doctor if he screws up. He doesn't have to worry about any of that. That's why he's charging you $40 or $30 for the visit, etc. So, and homeowner and property taxes. There's almost no property taxes. You pay 0.1% of the assessed value, which is much lower than market value, annually on your property. What does that mean? That means $100,000 in assessed value, which is probably a $500,000 property, is $100 a year in property taxes. So when you take all that pressure, economic pressure, out of the system, it pulls you, by definition, in a certain way, off the hamster wheel.
Right.
It's like part of that hamster wheel thing back home is like, I just got to pay all this shit every month.
Right.
And it's not that you don't have to pay things here. There's still money. There's still life. There's still, you can be stressed. You can be poor. You can screw up everything. I've done plenty of all of that, haven't we all? But like in fact, those things are not the same.
Right. Yeah. And I think some of it, people will say, or people have told me, well, how do you know, if you can't sue your doctor, like, how do you know if he's a good doctor? And how do you know this? And how are you, that whole fear piece of like, oh, how do you know? And that goes back to, one of the core values on what people tell us why, they want to live here. And one of the reasons I'm choosing to live here is community. And that is you establish relationships. You learn, you talk to them, you have access to equivalent, high level equivalent doctors, healers, medical professionals that aren't on the clock giving you 15 minutes that they're 10 minutes late to because their nurse is in there for 10 minutes and you got 5 minutes and they're looking at their iPad and looking at your results and they're saying, okay, well, not even understanding anything about you, your history, who you are, what the real problems are, if they exist. But here, those people, those professionals are available. You'll go down and you'll sit for hours to understand your full history if you want that. So some people say, hey, I came here, I want the culture, I want the community, I want the relationships. And then it's romanticized. Again, same with the agriculture piece. Well, I don't want to I got to spend 2 hours with this guy that I don't even speak Spanish. Well, that's the trade, right? So do you want to do what it takes to understand and have that? Because once you do, that's when the magic happens. That's when it's like, wow. Then you understand. Then that takes the fear out of it too. If you go brave into some of that stuff, maybe brave's not the right word, but if you go with less fear and just more open-mindedness into some of that and willing to make mistakes and learn, dude, then you're able to be able to message, a high-level medical professional in their off hours and get a response. And dude, like, to me, that's awesome, right? So how do you know that they're good? Well, you have to do your homework. You have to meet them. You have to talk to people. You have to meet some of their referrals, talk to people that have been helped by them, and that takes time. So the beauty is that this lifestyle, this culture is conducive to that. It's there if you want it. If you can if you can be open to what it takes to do it, and then take action in taking steps to do some of that, then you can be happy and you can get over some of those initial fears. Like it's, like Bella went to the orthodontist and got braces and had, some of that wasn't easy. I don't speak Spanish, so she's not only is she translating, I'm using some of my broken Spanish to try and, vet this person and understand what they're doing and ask questions and get answers. And I'm also trying to like ask hard questions and then read, discern, what kind of answers I'm getting and the whys and what the purpose is and what, and all of that. Well, I how poor my Spanish is. You're able to do that if you want to here, right? And now, we're in a spot where I can call the orthodontist at any time. If I have a question about anything, I could just WhatsApp him, right? And it's not like, the time is money thing, and you got 15 minutes, because he's not worried about me suing him, because not only did I take the time to understand and understand the relationship, now I have confidence. I know he's good. I know he's good at what he does. I know he's competent. I believe that now. So
and you have the human connection, and he cares.
Right.
And then there's also, like, if we want to talk about it in more sort of, which is silly to do, but I'll do it anyway, but sort of heartless, which is the wrong word also, but heartless terms, right? It's like, okay, what's your guarantee in the States, for example, of stuff, shit going right, right? Is, okay, there's agencies there's oversight agencies, there's a legal system, you have these protections in place that you feel confidence in to whatever degree you feel confidence in. For me, that might be very little. For someone else, they might feel like very confident because there's these oversight agencies or whatever it is, right? But whatever degree, those are the protections in place. Those protections here are the relationships. That's what functions in the same capacity as, like, the FDA or like the back home,
the family name, right?
Right. So it's like, so if I needed an orthodontist, which I don't, but if I probably do. If I needed an orthodontist, right, I would go through my network, my friend group, like my network, right? Hey, who do you know? Who should I go to, right? And then they would create that bridge between me and the orthodontist. So I would go in already with the leverage of this person that you care about is recommending me to you.
This is why I'm here, right?
Right. So, and very likely that orthodontist already would have received a message. It's not like they're just saying, "Hey, go to this guy."
Right.
They're gonna already like create that connection for you. So I'm going in already, they know who I am, and they know who, right? And so that's like that's like the thing that matters here.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it doesn't matter, like if I get into a situation with someone where there's like, I've exposed some flaw in their character, or not I've exposed, but just like the situation has exposed some flaw in their character, or there's some like issue between us, the leverage I have is tremendous because they don't want, they're beholden to the other relationships. So it's like, if they're not going to mess up that relationship with me and risk the blowback that could cause them, not because I'm going to run around screaming that they're bad or anything. It's not that. It's just that the social connections, the social sort of leverage and connections here. Again, I could talk about this in a very flowery way that's beautiful. I'm just talking about it in a very like dry, like heartless sort of way. But that is the mechanism. So yeah, it's different. I think it's way better because you're now, instead of relying on something that's just part of the system that doesn't care about you at all, you're relying on the human being and other human beings and the connections we all have as human beings, and the fact that we all want good for one another. And it's very much a society and a culture of like, you know, oh, I know you, you know me, now we know each other, okay, now you're going to look out for me, I'm going to look out for you, you know, we're going to care about each other. If I need something from you, I'm going to go to you for it. If you need something from me, you're going to come to me for it. And we build those bonds, and like that's just how the whole country works.
Right.
And I think it's just a better system, but it's only a better system if you integrate into it.
Yeah.
If you're expecting, you know, in and out, fast, efficient, orderly, you know, I'm in a bad mood, I don't want to talk to anyone today. You know, you're doing all that stuff like so many, like I did back home, and so many people. Yeah, no way. Like, no way. Like, the doors are going to be closed kind of for everywhere. And you're not going to have those, you're going to have bad orthodontist experience after bad orthodontist experience. It's not going to be good. Like,
yeah, that's good stuff, man.
All right. I think we did it.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, guys.
Sorry.
I am extremely sorry. This was something. This was something. But you're still here, so if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. If you like the video, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're crazier than me and this guy. But if you do like it, give us a thumbs up. We hope to see you down here one day.
So until then,
see you next time, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care.
Game log. Simple.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not possible, bro. Doc Gooden's first, his, yeah, that's wrong, dude.
When was his first game?
84, 85. 37-5, 1.38 ERA.
Well, how many earned runs did he give up?
I don't know. You gotta look, but
you gotta look. You're the one making the claim.
1.38 ERA, bro.
Nobody's
beating that, dude.
You're making the claim.
Paul Skeens doesn't have close to a 1.38 ERA.
You're making the claim.
It's wrong.
What's the word?
1.38 ERA. That's all you need to know.
What's the claim? What claim are you making?
It said Dwight Doc Gooden's first 35 career starts in Major League Baseball were nothing short of extraordinary from his debut.
Is that what ChatGPT told you?
Yeah, in 1984 through the early part of the 85 season.
ChatGPT.
So look, this is his look.
I can't believe how much of a...
This is his first 35 career starts.
I can't believe how much of a bitch your bitch is. Yeah, so just ask, how many earned runs?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's more dominant than any of those guys. I don't know. 1.38 ERA!
In that era.
In that era? Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Oh, come on, dude.
412 strikeouts and 90 walks.
412?
Strikeouts in 35.
Dude, yeah, that's amazing. Oh, no wonder.
That must have been like modern era, like 90s on.
It might be. I mean, they were all 90s guys. Right?
Yeah. Because there's old, you know, I'm thinking of other guys now too that.
Yeah, maybe Bob Feller.
Yeah, I mean, Koufax and Tom Seaver and. Yeah.
Okay. Tom Seaver. Not a fan of him.
Yeah, I mean, it literally says was one of the most dominant stretches in pitching history. His first 35 career starts.
You know who is one of the
He
most
was
dominant?
24-4, bro, with a 1.5. Listen to this, bro.
Yeah.
24-4 with a 1.53 ERA, leading the league in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. He also led the National League in complete games and innings pitched.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing.
So fuck Greg Maddux.
Yeah. Good Maddox.
But then he did a lot of cocaine.
He did. And he had sex with a lot of women in the stands.
In the stands?
During the game. Like,
Calling
dude,
them down?
I would read stories about, like,
But
players
this thing won't
saying
answer. The ChatGPT like won't answer the question. I've asked him like 12 different ways.
he would point to women in the stands
Yeah.
and have them go get him, and in between innings.
In between innings,
While
while they're hitting.
I mean, that's the story.
That's the
I don't
story.
know. Yeah.
Probably true. I mean, the stories, and that's why the Mets only won one title with that team. All the shit that was going on.
Right.
Dykstra was a madman. Strawberry was a madman.
Dykstra was a madman.
Yeah, Gooden was a madman.
Oh, God. All three, like, how were those three were all on the same team?
Yeah, and they got rid of Dykstra, which was stupid. And they got rid of Kevin, what was his last name? Black dude.
Mitchell?
Yes. They got rid of Kevin Mitchell and Dykstra, which was stupid.
Yeah.
David, and then like, there's all the rumors that David Cohn and Keith Hernandez were hitting for the other team.
Really? David Cohn
And Keith
and
Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez. Huh. That's interesting.
Bro, Doc, listen to this. Doc Gooden's WAR
Yeah.
in his second season was 12.2 as a starting pitcher.
Insane.
Listen to this season. 1985. 24-4. 1.53 ERA. 276 innings pitched. How many home runs do you think he gave up in 276 innings?
15.
13. 47 earned runs that year. 268 strikeouts. His whip, what do you think his whip was?
0.98.
Yeah, .965.
Dude, I'm good at this.
That was pretty good. Because under one, it's like you don't see under one ever.
Right. I nailed the strike. What else did I nail? Something else.
I mean, his first his first 6 seasons, the highest whip he had was 1.204.
Yeah.
He was his whip was basically 1 his first 3 seasons.
Wow. Yeah, now I can't imagine it. I wonder what the
24-4, bro. With a 12.2 WAR. Does that even exist anymore? Like, does even positional players get to 12?
No.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't even think the Tani pitched and hit and he was at 12. Like, and he did both. Maybe. I mean, like, you know how
35 starts, 16 complete games.
Aaron
8
Judge,
shutouts.
Aaron Judge
8 shutouts.
this year, you know, he's hitting almost 400, 18 bombs, 50, I don't know. He's like,
Bro,
contending for the Triple Crown, he's probably got like a 4.2 WAR.
bro, listen to this.
Yeah.
8
I'm listening.
times the man, in one season, 8 times, he pitched 9 innings, 0 runs.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. No mas. All right, hold on. Let me pull something up here. All teams, all leagues. I want team league stats. Okay.
His strikeout
Who's
to
this
walk
guy?
ratio was almost
singing this?
4-1. It's probably Tyler Childers.
All
Let me
right.
see.
Aaron
I
Judge
sent
right
you
now.
this guy. No, it's Dylan Gossett. He's good too. Yeah, he's really good.
4.7.
This is like a young kid who's only got a handful of songs, but they're all really good.
Yeah, he's good. So Judge is 4.7. PCA 3.2.
I think actually I might have the wrong guy. No, never mind. That's not who I was thinking of. What? Pete Crow Armstrong?
3.2, number 2 in the league.
Yeah.
All right, let's look back. When did Ohtani, he didn't pitch last year, did he? Or was it 23?
Ohtani, well, this year he's not pitching. Last year he had his injury, right?
Ohtani, yeah. So Ohtani.
No, last year he didn't have his injury. Was it the year before?
Ohtani in 23 had 8.9. Ronald Acuna, that was his MVP year, where he went 40 and 70. He was 9.1 WAR.
Yeah.
I want to know that year. Okay, here's, oh no, Bobby Witt, Aaron Judge. 22 that he pitched? Can't be. Judge and Ohtani, yeah.
Hey, Ruben, this is an old listing we had of that property. So I don't know if the price is, or I guess the price is actually on the other flyer that I forwarded you. Anyways, take a look, see what you think. If you're interested and you want to talk about it, let me know. All right, take care, man. Have a great day. Oh.
How far back can we go? I'm just curious. What year was that Gooden year?
85.
All right, this is good stuff here. All right, 85. I'm just curious. Wow, the league batting average was 260.
Which is freaking high for now.
Yeah.
But you still had 150-pound shortstops back then.
So runs per plate appearance scaled per 100, it was 97. And in today's game, it's 100. Batting average is 244. What's the slugging though?
So the runs per whatever, that's almost the same.
Yeah.
There you go.
So slugging 394. Yeah, similar. So I wonder what the K is. So right now the league average K percentage, they're walking
A lot higher.
8.7, striking out 22%. That's actually lower than I thought. I mean, it's always around 23, but back then, 85, walking the same, but only striking out 14%.
Oh, wow. It's not as big a difference as I would have thought.
I mean, that's huge, 14 to 22.
I would have thought it would my perception is that guys are striking out like 3 times more than they used to.
No. 150 ISO back then, 125. Yeah, so there's more power.
So how did this whole parade thing started? Because the GAD asked us for a donation?
No, they gave us an invite.
They gave us an invite.
And the donation came like a month later.
I see.
Request. Yeah.
So we had already said yes to the invite when they asked.
Yes.
So that was you, or that was Monica, or you and Monica?
I mean, I didn't say yes to anybody, so it must have been Monica.
But I mean, she talked to you about it, I assume.
I think so. Yeah. Why, you don't want to do it? It's good.
I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad, trying to say thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good thing, man. And they want us. They want us to do it. They want.
I mean, they're good people. Yeah. And like, we want to help. It's good.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, like we can do something fun with it if we wanted.
Oh God.
Next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah. I know Carl will be in there with you. I'll film. I'll record.
I like the banner, man. I like the banner. I like the logo on the other side. That balances it out.
Well, it's just a better logo.
Way better.
Way better. We should probably just change to it.
You want to? I mean,
yeah, I do.
It's pretty cool, man.
It's a great logo.
I like it. Like, I've even contemplated like incorporating that when I finish my tattoo.
Nice.
Like seriously. Like, cause I'm like, I've got this whole story that's meaningful for me, and it's gonna finish here.
Where's my face, bro?
It's gonna finish here. Yeah. That's on the toilet.
I can't believe my face is not on there.
It's the mustache around my butthole. That's terrible.
You're not allowed to make me laugh.
Yeah.
It's not exactly where I wanted to be, bro.
Yeah, well, but I was thinking through, like, with,
with
with
You're
the
not
lion
putting my face, just the logo.
and the archer, and then I'm like, man, I've been trying to wait till something was like, hey, this Ecuador or South America, this,
the logo's
this
fantastic.
thing, and then I'm like, oh, that's it.
Let's switch. Let's rebrand. I'm ready.
I mean, that's the brand of the Sacred Valley Health Retreat.
Right, but it can be that also.
Yeah?
Yeah. And like now that we're running the company a little different, not even different, but just we're much more involved. And there's different, a little bit different energy as a result. We can stand behind that logo for all of it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't like this?
I actually do like it.
I don't think it's bad either.
I like it, but it's, it's more corporate. It's more like...
Yeah, no, I think it fits. But the other logo is just way better.
Yeah.
Like I feel the other logo.
Black part there. That's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's probably supposed to be removed from the print they did. You don't have it on yours, do you?
I do.
Oh. Yeah.
Can't believe we didn't get the taupe.
Only on purpose.
I almost had Monica change you without telling anyone.
I was gonna tell her. I almost told Monica if Jesse tries to change.
That would have put her in such a bad position. The only reason I didn't is because I was like, Carl had suggested the green.
That's the only reason why I did it.
And I was like, all right, let me just...
I was the same way. As soon as he suggested the green, I'm like, okay, green's fine. Hold on, I want to show you so you saw the banner, right? The banner was okay.
Yeah. Well,
okay, but I want to show you what the banner was.
No, I saw what it was. No, I thought...
Before that, do you know what the banner was going to be?
You're talking about the words or the design?
The design.
Oh, no, I know the words.
Oh, hold on. I just want you to see. And now, you can thank me again. These are the two versions. One and two. I was like, oh gosh.
It's almost better.
It's like a skit.
It's like a skit. That's right. Well, and isn't that how everything is here?
Oh gosh, dude.
No, yeah.
Oh, it just made me laugh so much. I'm like, oh, I'm never deleting these. Yeah. And at the time, I was like, oh God, I don't want all this color if you're getting a canvas banner, like in the States that would cost like hundreds of dollars. And then so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna simplify it. Bold words, the logo, and I'm like, oh, that balances it. Cool, it's good enough.
Yeah. No,
Easy,
they came up
and
with
it was
the
$10.
slogans. They're really good.
It was $10 for the banner.
Yeah.
I don't know,
They
that
do a
doesn't
lot of
surprise you?
banners here.
Yeah, well, a banner like that would be way more.
Yeah, of course, everything's way more.
Yeah.
They don't have to, they don't have to have 1,400 insurances just to run their business.
Right. Where's my WhatsApp, man? Yeah, I liked the parade, dude. I was happy to do it. I think it could have been fun. We can do the Macarena at the end next time. People would do it. People would laugh. People would have fun with
People
it.
would definitely laugh.
Do they do the Macarena in Ecuador? Did they?
I don't know.
Fernando, ¿es Macarena es popular o no? ¿Ya?
Yes.
¿Ya?
¿Se hace ese baile?
Yeah. En las fiestas hay algo que se llama hora loca y ahí siempre ponen eso.
All right.
See? There you go.
I'll video that one.
We could probably get like how good would it be? Like you do that,
Yeah.
and then we have the girls go up into the stands
Yeah.
and grab Victor and the mayor of Loja and bring them down. They know the Macarena, like what are they gonna say no? Like on the spot like that? Like they would have to play along, dude. It would be
100%,
so good.
100%.
I thought that like right when we were there. I'm like, gosh, why didn't we do that this
No,
year?
and Carl's right. Do some like silly outfit as well.
Yeah. Wear the hat.
White pants.
The white pants, dude. The white linen pants. Oh, yes.
I mean, in Ecuador, they shouldn't be the white linen. They should be like shiny and like plastic.
Yeah. We could do like, or it could be the hippie pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
Like
said
the
to Carl.
colorful
Like, I
ones?
was
Yeah.
joking,
Yes.
but
Did he know you were joking?
yes.
Okay. My WhatsApp is not loading. Is your WhatsApp working?
Appears to be, yeah.
Come on. Let's try that again. There we go. Look at that.
Yeah, so I want to meet next week with you and Carl.
Okay.
And just kind of like lay out, you probably understand most of it already, and I talked to Carl about it a little bit today.
Okay.
But I just want to lay out like my vision for how we can operate for a while.
Okay. Did you check my calendar?
I had Monica check it. Yeah, and also, I mean, some of this I've told you a little bit already, but like I've been really like in the weeds with Monica day to day on a lot of stuff, and as like, yeah, I mean, there's things that don't come naturally to her that she's aren't like natural. She's not naturally good at. That being, but like outside of those things, she wants it, dude.
Yeah.
Like her buy-in and like,
Dude, 100%.
her, like,
She's
her-
awesome, dude.
yeah, she's like I can see it in her eyes and in her behavior and her actions. It's really beautiful. Like she's like all in, which is really cool.
No, it's great.
And yeah, and yeah, no, it's really good. Like the whole, like where she's at, where Joanne is at, even like I think where Carl's at too is good. So
Yep, I agree, man. I like it. It feels better than it has in a long time.
feels really good right now.
Yeah, And I'm enjoying it more, even.
Right. Well, of course. Dude, like, I didn't necessarily have a solution or always have the right solution, but, you know, man, I mean, that's what I've been saying to you for years. It's like the vibe comes first. It's like the vibe has to be right. Like, if the vibe's right, then everything else, you know, but that's, the energy can't be off and then have good results.
No.
And that's,
Oh, you can.
no.
Yes, it happens all the time in corporate America.
Yeah, which is like, it's the end of that time, but like, even that, it's a little different because it's a formula and it's a rigged system.
No, I mean, it's still, I would say vibe still matters, like, when you go granular, like, so, like, in the system, the bigger system, obviously, it's not about that, really, in the same way, but when you go granular, then, yeah, like, the team dynamic, that matters, of course.
A ton, and also a lot of those companies got to where they were with a good vibe, and then it changed later.
Yeah, and then you know, like the small teams, man. That's the difference is, I think, from an environment like that to an environment here is that most people on those smaller teams at that level have an attitude similar to Monica.
In terms of like they're all in.
In terms of like, I'm all in because even if this is not what I want, I'm all in because this is the next step for me. Then this next team is the next step, and so that they can't
have that. You know, you're not going to succeed.
Right, and in corporate America, like that's the competition piece. Like you're all right. If I'm not there, then I'm going to get replaced.
Sure, like the like fear aspect.
Yeah, but still it's still I mean, in a way. But it's more like you can treat it that way, or you can be like, hey, I'm all in because I want this, or I want to be part of this.
Right.
Not like I'm scared to lose my job. I'm sure there's some people, but those people are the ones that get fired. You know, those are the ones that ruin the vibe.
Their fears manifest.
They ruin the vibe, right? They find a way to screw something up, right? Yeah. Or, you know, if you're in and you're like, hey, I really love this team, and there's some people that really do like that, or they want the next step, or they want the next opportunity, so they're all in on that stuff, and that's fun. When teams are like that, it's fun because it's not a defensive.
Yeah, it's that 1 + 1 is 3 type.
Yeah, nobody's defensive. It's just like, let's solve the problem. Who cares who made the mistake? We're a team. Doesn't matter. I made it today. You made it tomorrow. You know, someone else made it the next day. That's the whole point. Like, we make mistakes. How do we achieve what we're trying to achieve here?
Right, exactly, and that is where it's fun, and that's where the magic happens and all that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I remember. I used to have talks with because we would have young kids.
Yeah.
They would come in and they're trying to be CFO right out of college, right? They think they deserve the opportunity, or they're smart enough, or they're whatever. And they're trying to prove and show everybody that, what they can become. And I still remember, I remember telling them, like, it's not about becoming anything. It's like, it's about unbecoming everything you're not,
Yeah, which just means authenticity, which is like the key to life.
Exactly.
It's like the key to the world, which that's kind of what you come to Earth to teach people.
That's what these kids, they don't, once that clicks, and a lot of them, we had this rotational program they'd come through and they'd do this 2-year program.
Yeah.
And some of the kids would get it, they would get it. And then next thing you know, those are the kids you're seeing advancing through the corporate ranks.
Yeah. Well, because that's like fucking authenticity is just, it's activating. It also triggers people's demons.
Yes, it does.
It triggers people's demons, but it's activating. It's inspiring. Right. And so those people end up being liked and wanting, people want to be around them. They want to work with them. They feel inspired and activated by them. So of course that leads to promotion and power and all those kinds of things.
I mean, that's the creation, probably. That's the creation piece, right? The authenticity. It's probably really hard to create, like true creation, organic, unique creation, from somewhere that's not authentic.
You can't.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and you certainly can't inspire anyone.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because every human on earth has their own song to sing, their own like very unique song to sing. But most people aren't singing it because they're not being authentic. And so when you to whatever degree you're able to crack through the conditioning and the programming and the traumas and the wounds and all that shit to be able to sing your authentic song, then you play your little piece of the, of like the beautiful picture or puzzle or whatever, where you're activating and inspiring and doing that in whatever very unique, authentic way is yours, which is the only way you can do it. And like, and then yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, I like thinking about that idea now. Like where does creation come? From that perspective, not creation, capital C.
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from, right? Where does that? Because, at first I was thinking like, wow, life. Like, I'm not sure that light comes from anything but life. Right? I don't know if anything, like death doesn't breed light. Like life, it has to be alive to bring light, right? So if like, it has to be like there's an authentic, it's like, it can't just happen. It's not, like it can't just be like, I can't put to words the thoughts in my head right now. But it's around those concepts. It'll come to me. Maybe later. It'll come back to me. I lost the inspiration.
I like, sometimes you like, which everyone, but sometimes you have concepts that like I really like, I really want to understand, and sometimes like you're not able to say them as well as like, and then sometimes later I realize what you like the concept, like because you'll like in a subsequent conversation or a subsequent interaction, and I'll click, oh, that's what he was talking about when he was trying to explain to me this thing like 2 months ago, and
yeah, this is one of those.
And that's why, like, that's why, like, I pay attention to you because, like, you do have some of these deep lessons well understood. But yeah, it's for everyone, for me too. Sometimes it's really hard to verbalize it.
Yeah, it'll come or it won't,
Yeah.
and that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But it's really like for me, where does light come from? Where does truth come from? Where does, I don't know. You can't, it's hard to fake that, like the real thing. It's hard to...
Yeah. If you have any level of perception at all, you can't fake it to that person.
Right, or perspective. Yeah.
And it was really, and that's all, like you had said to me some weeks back, I don't remember what we were talking about, it might have been in the context of Trump or Elon or something like that, but you were saying like the false light is rising.
Yes.
And even though I agree with that, because it has to, because the light is rising, and so the darkness rises because we're in duality, but and the false light is part of that paradigm. But even though I agree with that, like the false light's job, which is just darkness masquerading as light, which darkness is just light masquerading as darkness, but like there's no actual darkness, but they're just playing a role. But the false light, which is light masquerading as dark, or darkness masquerading as light, it's like a training program for perception, for your perception. Like that's what that is. So it's like,
well, your perception is just that tangible in the moment.
It's just that tangible in the moment.
It's just that in the moment. It's not perspective, right? We talked about this before.
I'm saying like your power of perception. Like, can you see through it or not? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
Like that's what that is. Like the false light is saying like, how advanced are you in your capacities to see this energy signature of something, to see what something is through its facade, or through whatever it's masquerading.
Okay, I would say like perception for me is like what you're taking in through your senses, where perspective is like how you think about something or understand something based on your lived life or past experiences, that kind of stuff is perspective. Perception is just sensory intake in the moment. That's how I kind of think about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, whatever. I'm just saying, like, I think that's, like, when the darkness shows itself as light, I think that's the point of the positive point, the, like, godly point of it, is that it's a training program for you to be able to recognize, what's what. And
I think some of that also is just cycles in regard to, modern conveniences, cycles of conveniences. And, you can go back into Tartaria and, Atlantis and all these other like amazing, highly evolved societies. And then you look back, you look now and, we're in a sleepy village in the Andes Mountains of 5,000-6,000 people, and everybody has a smartphone. You don't see very many homeless, if any, in Vilcabamba area,
No.
right? So as society, so that's just kind of a reflection of the margin of the world, in my perspective. So as societies go through these,
margin of the world,
the margin representing the state of the world relative to material comfortability. I don't know, is that even a word? As material as living life becomes more materially comfortable, right? A cell phone is a luxury, right?
Yeah.
It's not a necessity for anyone.
Right.
It's a luxury, and you have a village where everybody has one, right? So, and they're comfortable, in their life, in their livelihood. So I'm just saying that this isn't, respective or relative to the world, but it is on the margin. So the world, like especially in the West, where people have excess and people have storage, that's what the concept of why are there no storage units in Ecuador? Because people don't live that way. And there's storage units all over the United States because people have so much stuff. They're so comfortable,
consumer
right?
goods.
Right. So as societies become more materially comfortable, like survival, is easier, right? So delusional beliefs, those become more popular because you can afford to be detached from reality.
Right.
Because there's they're very minimal short-term consequences. So, and that's kind of what it feels like where we're at right now, where, we talk about like, how do people, you're seeing, it's so polarized where people are seeing this, they're witnessing, they're perceiving this event that's happening, the same event, and they're thinking their perspective of the event is 180 degrees opposite of the person next to them observing the same event. And you can explain and argue, but it's not changing their minds.
At all.
Like only real, and that's kind of where I think only real, and maybe that's where when you talk about you know, the light rising, that maybe that's like the reflection of real world repercussions eventually coming home to roost.
Right.
Where, you know, enough people that think, you know, similarly about something, whether it's their vibration, their thought, whatever, that as that aligns, that triggers real world, you know, repercussions versus me arguing about the facts, literally the facts of what happened, right? So I don't know. I just think that that's part of this time we're in, is that particularly in the West, but many places, including like I said on the margins here, where you know, people are materially comfortable. You know, there's not a lot of people here that are fighting for their survival.
No.
You know, there are parts of the world that I would imagine there are still places like that
But
that
I
exist.
think it's a lot less than we think.
It is probably a lot less. I agree. Yeah. Friend of the show. What's up, October? Yeah. Yeah, I just think that relates to maybe the, you know, the real world repercussions, whether the you know, just impacts or changes or. Did that one come out better? Not really, huh?
I don't think I fully understood that point. Oh,
You don't.
keep making me
The
laugh.
point where it's like we're in a time where delusional beliefs are okay.
No, that part, the first half of that, 100% I was with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at with, well, that's where the argument, like, people are so, you know, what's the word? Not grounded, but so, like, you're not changing my mind. This is what, you know.
People are more concrete in their stances, you know, more, it's the polarization. I mean, it's the split. It's the, like.
Right, but in concepts that are so detached from reality.
Whatever reality means. I mean, I agree, but yeah.
Yeah, well.
Because, I mean, that's super subjective, like.
Well, it's my reality.
Yeah,
but
well,
it's
a lot
not.
of that is true.
Some of it is. A lot of it isn't.
So you think there's... It's really an interesting... I love this argument. It's one of my favorite arguments, by the way.
It's not an argument.
The argument
And
of,
if you'd like to buy an argument, you have to pay first.
whether there's objective truth or objective reality or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite arguments. I like that argument.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you...
You're
Bro,
so retarded, bro.
why would you do that?
I'm gonna put it right back there.
Why did you knock your water bottle down on yourself? I mean, I didn't do it.
No?
Not in my reality.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's
That was a good
definitely...
beer.
There's definitely a collective reality.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what I
So
mean.
if you're calling
that was like
that-
the anecdote I was trying to say. Like when collective reality, you know, is it a large enough, you know, congregation or high enough vibration, however you want to define it. That's when real world repercussions will come into play on some of these folks that I'm talking about that are detached from reality.
No,
That's
I hold
kind
the
of what I
same
mean.
perspective. I completely agree.
Yeah.
I
Well, I think
completely agree.
we're at that. I think we're at a time like that, but I think it's not just because, you know, of that. I think part of it is because of the evolution of, you know, globalization and technology and all that stuff, you know, that's led us here in a way. right? And that's kind of what I mean about on the margins with, you know, folks in Vilcabamba 50 years ago, they're riding horses and donkeys. There's no cars here. This is all, you know, they don't have cell phones.
Well, how does that play in?
So now they have this luxury at their fingertip, right? It's like then they were probably like, there was no tiendas like there are now. They're not, you know, they're like really just trying to survive, right? They're farming to survive. Like if they don't farm, there's not like a tienda that they can go to buy.
Yeah, but I don't know that means life was any more difficult.
I'm not saying that it was more difficult. I'm saying materially comfortable, right? So they're...
Yeah, in terms of like consumer goods and shit
right,
like
well,
that.
that's exactly how I defined it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's important because you're seeing the extreme perspective of that in lots of places in the West.
I agree.
And that's where you're...
It's the end of a cycle.
And that's where you're seeing the most crazy. Like, Vilcabamba's crazy,
okay? Yeah. No, that argument, I totally understand and agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like a phenomenon in psychology, which I don't know what it is. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's sociology, I don't fucking know. But the idea that it's like the hierarchy of needs type thing. So it's like when you start out in survival mode of just like, where's my food and shelter coming from? Then you don't have time for like the philosophical questions,
right? Self-actualization,
right? Or all this.
That's Maslow.
And then you move up, and then you get to the point of like where you're talking about, where you know you can sit at a computer for an hour and maybe make a living. Right. Then you have the other 23 hours of the day to like decide what you want to do. Then lots of different things get explored, including crazy, far away from God, you know, stuff. But yeah, I mean, I do agree. Yeah, and I do agree that like, you know, we've gotten so far off track in so many ways that what's part of what's happening right now and part of why so many people are having such a hard time spiritually, mentally, etc. You know, it's the distance between God, which you could also define as truth or as reality, and people's beliefs and lives and, you know, so on and so forth. Right. So it's like that's what needs to be bridged. And so there's a lot of pressure on people right now to bridge that, which is very uncomfortable for people because you get into the whole what's that phrase when you
complacency?
No, when you bump up against beliefs, when reality bumps up against beliefs and you know, there's a phrase for that. But, you know, you get into that whole phenomenon where, you know, where you have to confront your beliefs and you don't want to, and that's super uncomfortable. And that's why a lot of people are, you know, very angry right now, and they're spazzing out for all kinds of reasons, and they're sort of short-circuiting, and people are having, you know, medical situations and every other kind of situation, and
no, I think you're right, man. I think it does stem from a separation from God.
Yeah, of course.
Or just an acceptance of, you know, I watched some of that, you know, Jordan Peterson versus the Atheist. And that was, I mean, he got smoked quite a few times, you know.
That's surprising.
Intellectually. And he lost his emotional cool.
Really?
Yeah. So like
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Huh. I think part of it is, like, I followed Jordan Peterson for, you know, way before he got super popular, and was watching lectures before he wrote books, any of that stuff.
Really?
And yeah, it was a kid from my college that sent me a video of like his lecture. He would post his lectures online. I watched.
Oh, you're talking like 20 years ago or something.
Yeah, maybe not
15 years ago.
15 years ago probably. Okay. Yeah. And I was like, wow, man, a lot of his messaging, like it resonated true to me. And he was very well, you know, I don't know, he's well spoken, but very thoughtful.
Yeah.
On everything.
Super smart.
Right, super smart, right. And then, you know, but he was always dive into things that I was interested in. I went back to college at a Christian university. So I was forced to take at a college level, you know, biblical studies classes and, you know, ancient texts and, you know, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and, you know, we dove into all kinds of stuff that was very interesting to me. And Jordan Peterson would dive into some of the archetypal stories and into the ancient texts. He was interested in it. And, you know, I don't ever remember him claiming to be a Christian. Actually, not even close. Like, you could almost, based on some of his early stuff, say that he was an atheist. And maybe he said that. I haven't watched enough of his recent interviews, but then you saw the evolution of him as he got famous, and then you could kind of start to see him change a little bit. Like, he struggled with the fame. I mean, he almost died between his first and second books. Well, he got addicted to opiates.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, right. You know, clean your room. This is why he got mocked for, like, oh, you're telling everybody how to live their life, which he's not. He's just saying, hey, these concepts, you know, start with yourself. They're concepts you and I probably agree with. Like, they're about self-accountability and that kind of stuff, right? So then he's a guy that got addicted to opiates and was almost died. Had to go to, they flew him to like Russia. I don't even remember where, like, to do this stuff. And I remember seeing like an interview where he came to tears, you know, talking about how, you know, he's not sure or that he's thinking for the first time maybe ever, like, that God exists. Kind of moment. And people ran with it and said, oh, he's a Christian and blah, blah. Like, I don't think so. Like, I even saw him do like some promotion with somebody that's claimed to be, you know, that claims to be a Christian publicly. And I remember seeing the video or the screenshot, and it was Jordan Peterson, and he's literally wearing the Harvey Dent Two-Face suit from the comic books. That's the split colors, you know, like the red and the blue, like it's like a clear symbol of, like, this is, you know, like almost like mocking. I'm up here with Christians. I'm the you know, like I just remember that being very vivid. I'm like, wow, that's interesting, you know. And then if you go back, I mean, Marvel made comics about him, about the Jordan Peterson character was like the Hitler. Like, they tried to make this guy Hitler. Like, when he got popular, they tried to turn people against him.
Yeah, he went through the ringer on some stuff.
Right. So now it's like, I don't know.
A few years ago.
I don't know where Jordan Peterson is. I mean, but
there's a lot of criticism over Israel and stuff with him.
Yeah, right. He's been all about, and he has the way he answers other questions, he wouldn't satisfy you with his answers. On this kind of stuff. And then you see this atheist thing, it's like, God, it's almost like, is this your humiliation ritual now?
Right.
You know?
To get in the club. Like,
you know, I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
No, it's interesting. Like,
my only history with him was kind of when he blew up. And it was like, I saw him, you know, making some points that I thought made total sense to me.
Like when he was popular?
When he was when he was blowing up, like when he was in the process of everyone knowing about him.
Right.
That was when I learned about him. And so I never studied him. I never read any of his books. I never watched any of his lectures. I've never, you know, the only contact I have is seen clips and seen like little bits of segments and seen some arguments and maybe an interview here or there or part of one.
Right.
And I thought he made sense on most stuff.
He has some concepts in his books.
Not on everything, but I thought like, oh, here's a guy who's very intellectually highly intelligent, and willing to take on the golden cows, willing to take on, or there's a sacred cows, willing to take on, the sacred cows, very in a head, what is it, straight on, which is always good.
Horns first.
And there's those funny viral clips where, about gender or women's rights or the pay gap or things like that I get a kick out of.
No, yeah, they're great, because it makes you like, oh. Right, yeah, that's so.
So yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't watch any of what you're talking about, but yeah, I know people have said he's changed and he's different now and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, some of his books, dude, 12 Rules for Life. There's some phenomenal concepts.
Yeah.
Maps of Meaning, phenomenal, well thought out, really good concepts.
Yeah.
In both books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read the second or his. In the last couple of years, it's 12 More Rules for Life. I've not read that.
A new one.
A newer one, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just I go back to some of that stuff where it's people change.
Mm-hmm.
People change for sure. And then we've been given, God has given us the perspective to be able to, use discernment to separate the message from the messenger.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, right? It's it doesn't mean because somebody became a bad guy, whatever that means, or a guy that
right.
a guy that I don't, I'm not inspired to be like. It doesn't mean that he didn't have some amazing concepts or amazing
Nothing's
messages.
Black and white. Nothing's black and white.
Right?
Nothing's black and white.
It's just, I just reading some of the comments on that Peterson versus the atheist video. Dude, it's like people, they're crucifying the guy now. He's been, see, look at this, I'm never, he's been this the whole time,
Yeah, I mean, so insecurity and fear causes people to classify and reject. Everybody wants to put people in friend or foe camp.
Yeah.
And so that's how you see, and you see pop culture when everybody turns on someone.
Right.
You see that, and it's it plays into people's fear of not being part of the group.
Right.
Those primal instincts of well, I'm supposed to believe this because everyone does, and if I don't believe this, then I won't be part of things. And discernment, which you brought up, is one of the great lessons of being a human being, is learning discernment, learning how to cultivate and have access to, in an accurate way, your powers of discernment. And nothing's black and white. There's no such thing. Every human has the capacity for everything. For complete godlike unconditional love and, small mind hatred, nasty.
Yeah.
We have the capacity for murder and love, right? All humans, whether we act on it or don't, or whatever path we choose in those ways. And I think I think most of us, if not all of us, have explored in different lifetimes all that stuff. And that's part of how you learn discernment. It's oh yeah, if I do this shitty thing,
right.
It puts me on this path and these things happen.
Yep.
And that's how you learn, So it's I think a lot of being a human is about integrating all those different aspects, right? It's not rejecting that and running away from it. It's not being, oh, that's dark, and then you judge it, and then you reject and run away.
Mm-hmm.
There is that stage, but at the end of the day, anything that you're judging and rejecting is going to persist.
Right.
So, I think, every religion and every spiritual text talks about those kinds of things, right? It's what do you do with, you can recognize it, that's the power of discernment again, and perception, but like, you know, you recognize it if something is dark or is masquerading as dark or is acting dark or whatever. You know, you recognize it, see it for what it is. Don't delude yourself. Going back to that other topic of like how far from truth you are.
Right.
You know, don't delude yourself. But at that point, what do? Like, you send it love. You know, you accept it. You forgive it. You don't then take that and be like, oh, I'm better than you and you're bad and you know I'm gonna, because then you're that. Then you're dark.
Right.
Like then, you know, the dark that you've identified has now triggered you into darkness because you now hate that.
Right.
Which is dark.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, I think the beginning of that phase is, you're right, it stems from fear, because maybe that's the devil's greatest trick, you know, tricking you into believe that, you know, you're lost, broken, and separate. You know, you were never lost.
Right,
You were never
right.
broken. You were never separate. You know, so people are tricked into thinking that, and then they're out there seeking peace, love, truth, all that stuff, when in reality they'll never find it. Because it's not to be found; it's to be remembered.
Right.
You know.
Or realized.
Right.
Remembered / realized. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, right. And that's
Good.
no, I don't know. You go ahead.
No, and that's some of the largest false light paradigm too, is the whole love and light thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is very false light.
It's
very
so,
false
to
light,
me,
like,
dude, a lot of that stuff is just like serious. Like, it's so opaque.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's kind of like a lot of it is just sort of, it's either darkness masquerading as light, or it's well-intentioned, but it's spiritual bypassing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
one of those two things.
Yeah.
Because authentic, you know, yeah, again, well, coming back to earlier in the conversation, it's just the only thing that you're like obligated, and I say that word tongue in cheek, but like that you're obligated to operate in is authenticity.
Right. Most people can't. I mean, that's the
And
self.
sometimes you're
Right.
you
That's
know,
the
and sometimes-
self accountability piece, right? Comes back to that. Right? Because you can choose to be, like, you're making a choice to not be authentic.
well,
Like, you're making an active
yeah,
choice.
it may be
Or
not
maybe
a
it's not a
conscious one all
conscious
the
choice,
time,
right.
but it's still a choice, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, yeah, like that's the game, dude, is like, can we get human beings to cover themselves and be so afraid and so traumatized and so messed up and so conditioned and so programmed that they can't uncover, slough off enough of that to be their authentic selves? Like, that's kind of the game. That's kind of the game. And like, yeah, I mean, most humans are walking around Earth very damaged, myself included, you know, very damaged and in some sort, running on some sort of mental program, conditioning, etc.
That's the devil's trick I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because you're not damaged. You're not broken.
No, of course not.
Right.
But like, but your you know, you can tell yourself, you can fall into that trap through experiences. I mean, I'd say every human to one degree or another is in that trap. Some people don't. Some people to the point where they'll never even realize any of that exists.
Right.
And others are in some part of the process of freeing themselves.
Right. And that probably relates to why some people, you know, the hypocrisy of living in fear while expecting everyone else to live fearlessly. You know, like, it should, you know, you should, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Well, and that's the other thing too, is like, one of my favorite things, man, is like anything that triggers you is something you recognize in yourself. And I think a lot of the false light is stuck in that paradigm.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's all this self-righteousness.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, these are my beliefs and my beliefs are right, and now that gives me the right to condemn this thing over here.
Right.
Which is just an aspect. You're triggered by that because it's you. You're triggered by that because you're seeing some aspect of yourself in that person, which triggers you.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. I also been like I've been like interested recently in this sort of a concept I've understood for a long time, but like different, how there's always layers and aspects that you figure out along the way. But it's like, the idea of how triggering light is for demons. And I don't mean demons as human beings, like I mean actual demons. They're just like, like light triggers people's demons. Like, and the demons work through, and the more light that something is, the more the more the contrast, and it's that contrast that triggers the demons.
Right, and that's kind of, there's something with that, right? That's where I was saying, like, light comes from life. Light comes from life, triggers demons, not light. I don't know, like, anti-life.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's like, I think demons are essentially parasitic entities that need life to exist. It's like, for example, I was listening to this podcast the other day. It was interesting to me. It was like, let's say you have a human, right, who had a lifetime where they sort of fell to addiction, let's say, right?
Okay.
And let's say, they died just a miserable, addicted death. And maybe there was even a suicide, or maybe there was a, whatever, right? Some kind of very ugly. They were learning those lessons on that road, right? And so then you have an entity. Maybe they don't want to leave, and maybe they end up in that sort of astral realm where the demons and where all those kind of thought forms exist, because they're all just thought forms. But maybe they end up sort of in that, and then there's a human, right? And that entity wants to have the experience of that high again. Well, they can't get it in the astral. They can't drink a beer in the astral. They can't shoot heroin in the astral. So what do? Well, there's a human being who, through their actions, opens up that doorway to that attachment, and that attachment is made, and then that demon is manipulating that human to give them the feeling of the addiction, because they're parasitic entities. Like, they need the alive thing to do the action, so that they can get whatever it is, whether it's life force or whether it's a feeling or whether it's, whatever they're trying to accomplish. But it's like they need a body to be, right? So like that realm needs the body. Like they need the 3D, so to speak. Like,
right.
It's an interesting concept.
It is interesting concepts, and that could be. That's a lot of that stuff. David Icke's been talking about stuff like that for 30 years, probably longer, right?
Yeah.
You know David Icke?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, man. He's really been doing it since probably the 80s or 90s.
Right.
And he's like, I really liked what he was doing during the pandemic.
I don't recall.
He was doing these, like, when we were at the height of the hysteria, basically, everyone's gonna die. And he was doing these broadcasts with that guy, London Real guy.
Yeah, Brian or something. Brian Rose.
Yeah, I think that's right. And yeah, he was doing those broadcasts, and they were really, reaching a shit ton of people. And he was
really,
they were at one point, Brian Rose on one of the, and YouTube was shutting them down. So they were
kidding.
So they were going out on YouTube, and then YouTube kicked him off of YouTube, and so then he started
Brian Rose off.
Then he started this whole thing, and I don't know how clean all that was. That's not the point, but at one point they had like over 1 million people watching at one moment.
Wow.
Which is for a live stream, that's insane.
David Icke,
yeah, that's insane. So he did like maybe 7 of these broadcasts with David Icke.
No kidding.
Like in real time, where
and this is gloves off, David Icke, like
full gloves off,
no
like
kidding.
Full on gloves off.
Huh.
2020, like pre-vaccine, like lockdowns. Like
Wow.
I'm locked down in Ecuador at that point.
Right.
Like I'm in Mandango. We're like gardening and cooking It was such a great time. We were like gardening and cooking and having a ball, but. It was like during then, but like that was when the fear was palpable on Earth. You know, it was like they had literally scared everyone to think they're all about to die.
Right.
And a lot of people bought it. I mean, this is when people were walking around in hazmat suits in Loja.
Wow.
Like,
Dude, that was a good time, actually, man. Now that you said
It was,
that.
dude. 2020 for me was one of the. It was a monument. It was a beautiful year. It was a big shift. It was a beautiful time on Earth. Again, it was just how you took it. It was like, what had you done up until then, and then how did you take that? For me, it was almost relieving. It was like, finally, it's happening. It was like
something's changing.
It was like finally, like, yeah. So
Yeah. For me, it was even more so like just the subtle, you know, where my family and I were. My brother's in California. My other brother is a couple hours away. My parents lived close to us at the time, but we're like making it a point to all get on FaceTime and we're playing bingo. You know, or we all got cards and one of us has the thing and we're calling them. And as a family, like it was just something like we've never done that. We would never do that.
Right,
but
exactly.
at that time, guess what? It was important. It made you realize,
what's important.
Hey, what's important here?
Yeah, because it was kind of like a pause button for a lot of people. Yeah. So that's like what Ecuador's all about. You know, it's like kind of like a pause person for a lot of people. So that makes you like reevaluate.
Yeah.
It makes you face yourself. That's why a lot of people were going crazy. Mm-hmm. There was suicides went through the roof, addiction went through the roof, domestic violence went through the roof, all this stuff. Why are people going crazy? Because they're facing themselves for the first time, maybe ever. You know, they're just like having to sit with themselves. Well, if you've been running from yourself your whole life, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean emotions, because it was also on the flip side. It was also, I think, it was a huge uptick in new babies.
Well, yes, there was right, like the baby boomers and COVID baby.
Right.
All right, let's do it. Yeah.
All right, let's go for it.
Welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast, Jesse.
Hey guys, we're here in Vilcabamba with the Abundant Living team. To learn more about our next retreat, click the link in the description down below. From our family to yours, welcome to Vilcabamba.